in the history of the world. And there is no reason why every man, woman, and child in this country does not have a decent standard of living. Brothers and sisters, what I also want to say is that in this unprecedented moment in the modern history of our country and the world, we have got to think in unprecedented ways. We cannot do today what we did yesterday. And that means we need a political revolution in the deepest sense. And that sense understands. I'm not Taylor Swift, in case you haven't noticed. We're not here as an entertainment show. We're not here to applaud Bernie or Chris Lucey. We are here to transform America, and the only way we do it is by transforming ourselves. Democracy is not an entertainment activity. It's not looking at somebody else. It's not a beauty contest. It's not a concert. It is getting active and standing up for the people next to us, the people down the block, and the people across the country. So we need to be thinking of new ways. And in every part of the country, in every state, it may be a little bit different. But we got to think of new ways as to how we can be more generous, more effective, how we can bring people together to create the kind of nation that you and I know we can become. So let me begin. See, I've already gone on for 10 minutes and I'm beginning this. What you learn when you're a U.S. Senator, by saying hello to Congressman McKenzie. And let me say this, Mr. Congressman, we are living in very difficult times. And in your district right here, and all across this country, millions of working people are struggling to put food on the table. I was just in Harrisburg yesterday. We had a great rally in the evening, and earlier in the day I had some time, and the administrators were kind enough to allow me to go to a couple of schools and talk to some of the kids in Harrisburg. Beautiful kids. And one of the kids, I wanted to hear what was going on in their lives, and one of the kids gets up and says, well, I'm living with my dad now, my parents are separated, but my mom is trying to help out. She's working at 2 jobs right now, and she's looking for a 3rd job. All right? And this is what is in fact going on all over this country. 60% of our people are living paycheck to paycheck. So I say to Congressman McKenzie, you know, and everybody in this room knows or should know, that there is what is called a reconciliation bill in Washington that will be, we think, coming to the floor of the House and Senate in the pretty near future. What this bill in general does is it would make massive cuts, over $800 billion in Medicaid. It would make massive cuts in nutrition programs, massive cuts to housing. And all of those savings would be used to provide a $1.1 trillion tax break for the richest 1%. So my message to Congressman McKenzie is, don't vote for that terrible piece of legislation. administration, you will be a one-term member of Congress. For a number of years in Vermont and around the country, I talked a lot about our nation moving toward an oligarchic form of society. And there were people who were saying, what does oligarchy mean? What is Bernie talking about? Well, thanks to Donald Trump, we now know what oligarchy is about. Yeah. When Donald Trump was elected president, and I know it seems like a lot longer time ago, but it was only 100 days, when Trump was elected president, he had behind him three of the wealthiest people in America. Remember who those guys were? You had Elon Musk. You know Elon. And he had Mr. Bezos, that's them. And he had Mr. Zuckerberg, that's them. America standing right behind the president. But that wasn't enough. Behind those guys, you had 13 other billionaires that Trump had nominated to become the heads of major federal agencies. You know, right here in Pennsylvania, back in 1863, at that terrible Battle of Gettysburg, where 20,000 Union soldiers were either killed or wounded. A few days later, as you all remember, President Abraham Lincoln came to the battlefield. And he looked at that terrible battlefield where just a few days ago, so many people had died. And he said in so many words, what we believe in is a government of the people, by the people, for the people. And what Trump has made perfectly clear, he doesn't hide it. I gotta give the guy credit for that. That right now we have a government of the billionaire class, by the billionaire class, and for the billionaire class, and we are not going to. You have an obscenity in the wealthiest guy in the world, running all over Washington, D.C., firing thousands and thousands of dedicated federal employees. Doesn't have enough employees right now to service the seniors. They want to throw away, they want to discharge thousands and thousands of people at the Social Security Administration. At a time when the Veterans Administration is understaffed, they want to lay off 83,000 employees at the VA. Republican, Democrat, or Independent, we stand with the veterans of this country. And when we see the deterioration in the healthcare of the benefits, but it is not just oligarchy that we are dealing with today. We are looking at an unprecedented attack on the foundations of American democracy, and under Trump, a movement toward authoritarianism. You know, the founding fathers of this country were nobody's dummies. You all recall that they had fought and led the fight against the autocratic King of England, the most powerful person on earth at that time. A guy like Trump who thought he had the divine right to rule. And what these guys did, founding fathers, they said, you know what? We see what the autocrat in England is doing, and we're going to have a constitution which provides for separation of powers. Right? Yeah! So you got an executive branch, the president, the legislative branch, Congress, Senate, and House, and the judiciary of federal courts. And the reason we have that separation of powers is precisely to prevent what Trump is trying to do today.
Yeah!
He is usurping the powers, the appropriation powers of the United States Congress. Unbelievably, when a court decision comes down that he doesn't like, says, we're going to impeach the judge. But it's not only Congress and the judiciary he's going after, again, in an unprecedented way, he is going after the media. Now, this is a guy who throughout his career has leveled the most savage, vicious attacks on his opponents. Everybody is crazy, everybody is awful, everybody is disgusting, everybody is terrible. And yet, when the media criticizes him, he wants to sue them and shut them down. So we say to Mr. Trump, if you can't accept criticism, get out of the political process. Let me talk a little bit about something that the media doesn't talk about and we don't talk about in Congress at all. And that is the reality that today we have 60% of our people living paycheck to paycheck. We have more income and wealth inequality than we have ever had in the history of the country. And as a result of this disastrous Citizens United Supreme Court decision, we now have a corrupt campaign finance system in which billionaires in both political parties are controlling the political and legislative agenda. This is an issue, whether you're a Republican, progressive, conservative, whatever you may be. Nobody thinks that American democracy is about Elon Musk contributing $270 million to elect Trump and then becoming the most important person in government. So brothers and sisters, when we talk about the future of America and our political system, at the top of our agenda must be the need to end this disastrous Citizens United Supreme Court decision. And move to public funding of elections. Now let me tell you something which you're not going to hear much about in the corporate media, and you're not going to hear much about in the halls of Congress. And that is that today, the average American worker in real inflation accounted for dollars is earning less than he or she did 50 years ago. And And you know why the American people are angry? They're angry because they're looking around them. They're seeing a huge increase in worker productivity. And yet all of that wealth is going to the people on top, not to the working class of this country. And we are here tonight, we're here today, to say loudly and clearly that we demand an economy that works for all of us, not just the people on top. We need a Democratic Party which makes a fundamental choice, and that is, are you on the side of the working class of this country? There are millions of working people whose families used to vote Democratic. And they look and they say, why do we have the highest rate of childhood poverty of almost any major country? Why is it that I'm working longer hours for lower wages? Why is it that I can't afford health care? Why is it that I can't afford my rent and my mortgage? Why is it that I can't afford to send my kid to college? And the Democratic Party is finally going to have to say, we stand with those people. We're prepared to take on the greed of corporate. But when we talk about the Democratic Party, it is not just domestic issues. I'm going to get into that in a moment. It is also foreign policy as well. Donald Trump believes that Ukraine started the war with Russia. Well, Mr. Trump, get your history correct. It was Russia and that terrible dictator, Vladimir Putin, that began that war. And we will stand with democracy and not with authoritarian people all over the world. But it's not just the Ukraine. I strongly oppose Biden's continued military support to the horrific Netanyahu war against over 50,000 people have been killed, over 110,000 wounded, and the entire infrastructure of Gaza has been destroyed. Right now, as bad as that, and I want you to hear this is important, as bad as what Biden has did and what Trump is now doing, Trump has another idea, which is so crazy, so unimaginable, that you can't really believe they are seriously talking about it. But what they are talking about today is forcibly expelling 2.2 million Palestinians from their own place. Into a playground for the rich, a new Riviera for Trump and his friends. We will never allow that to happen. Now, I work in the U.S. Senate. I'm around people who are able to talk more and say less than any group of human beings in the history of the world. So when we talk about where we want to go as a nation, we have got to talk with some specificity, not in general terms. And what I'm begging of you is when you hear candidates who want your vote, be tough on them. Yeah. Ask them hard questions.
Yeah.
Are they unequivocally prepared to reject corporate PAC funding? At a time when billionaires have enormous power in both parties, are they prepared to work vigorously to overturn Citizens United? Today in America, the top wealthiest person in this country, if you can believe it, owns more wealth than the bottom 53% of households. Got that? One guy. Top 1% owns more wealth than the bottom 93%. CEOs now make 350 times more than their average workers. So these people on top, they're very religious people. But it's a strange kind of religion. You know, all of the major religions on earth speak in one way or another about doing unto others as you would like them to do unto you, right? Christianity, Judaism, Islam, whatever. Kind of that's the heart and soul of many major religions. What the religion of these oligarchs are is greed, greed, and more greed.
Yeah.
And that greed is destroying our country. We gotta stand up to it and end it. So it is not just about not giving them massive tax breaks that Trump wants. It's about telling these large corporations and billionaires they are going to start paying their fair share of taxes. All over America, workers want to join unions. They want to join the unions because they know that when you're in a union, you can negotiate decent wages, working conditions, and benefits. But employers know that too. And they're making it harder and harder for workers to join unions. That's why we need to pass legislation that punishes any employer who denies workers the constitutional right. Here in Pennsylvania and in many parts of this country, there are workers earning starvation wages. Millions of workers all over America. Shamefully, the federal minimum wage remains at $7.25 an hour. Can you believe it? Nobody in America can live on $7.25 an hour. That is why we got to raise that federal minimum wage to at least $17 an hour. As I mentioned, I was in Harrisburg yesterday talking to some kids, and many of them want to be able to go to college, go to graduate school. A young lady wanted to be a pediatrician. Somebody wanted to be a psychologist. Others wanted to be construction workers, get the training they need to do the work this country desperately needs. But they were all worried about whether or not they could afford to go to college and the huge kind of debt they would assume if they did go to college. We need the best educated workforce in the world. We need more doctors, we need more nurses, we need more mental health counselors, we need more get the education they need and our country needs from them. 22% of seniors in America, the richest country on earth, are living on $15,000 a year or less. You believe that? Try being a senior living on $15,000. Try being anybody living on $15,000. Some Republicans want to cut Social Security. We are not going to cut Social Security. We're going to expand Social Security by lifting the cap on taxes. The United States of America today is the only major country on earth not to guarantee health care to all people as a human right. We spend over $14,000 per person on health care, and yet we got 85 million Americans uninsured, underinsured. Over 60,000 die each year because they can't get to a doctor on time. The function of healthcare is not to make billions for drug companies and insurance companies. The function of a rational healthcare system is to provide quality care to every man, woman, and child. We're going to do that through Medicare for all, single payer. Vermont, and all locations, we are suffering a major housing crisis. You have 20 million people spending 50% or more of their limited incomes on housing. You got 800,000 people sleeping out on the streets. Instead of spending $1 trillion on the military, how about building 5 million units of low-income housing? This is a difficult moment in American history. But we have had difficult moments in our history before. And I have every confidence that if we are prepared to reject what Trump and his friends want to do, and that is divide us up, get us to hate each other for whatever reason, the color of our skin, or where we were born, or our sexual orientation. If we stand together around an agenda that speaks for working people, there is nothing that can stop us. Now, I'm not going to lie to you, the oligarchs, they are enormously powerful. They have unlimited amounts of money, they control the political process, they own the media, they own the economy. That's a lot of power. But what I believe, at the end of the day, and I'm not a PhD in mathematics, but I do know that 99% is a hell of a larger number than 1%. So we got a lot of room in front of us, we really do. And this rally is just a small part of what we're trying to do. We're trying to get you and others to start running for office. We need candidates from school board to Congress. We need help in growing the trade union. We need organizations on campus dealing with climate and other important issues. So let today be the beginning, not the end. Let us go forward. And in these very, very difficult times, make sure that our grandchildren and those who come after them look back at this moment and say, we stood up, we had the courage, we took on our